So don't expect Reverend Judy to be here because she won't be. And neither will anyone else. It will be dark. The whole month of December has been living in the light. And of course, living in the light is living in the qualities of God as light, as wisdom, as that first creative impulse of light itself. And this morning's message, as Debbie so wonderfully said, was the urge to serve, the urge to serve. Because when you're living in the light, when you're living in that presence and power of God, then what you automatically want to do is give back from not from a place of needing or from getting, but simply from the fullness that you are. The light that you are wants to be expressed through you as you. So this place, I was reminded this morning of a story I read long ago about a young California kid who moved to Montana. And he was a very athletic kid. And he got up one December morning. The sun was shining. It was bright. He put on his running shorts and his t-shirt, and out he went for a run. It was 20 below zero. His friend said, "What are you doing? Don't you know how cold it is?" He said, "Well, the sun works in California. But this morning, I would beg to differ. It's a little bit chilly for us here in California, where the sun is shining brightly, and it's so mom and other people in other climates know it's nothing like what you're putting up with, but it's a little chilly for us. However, it's good for us to have that clarity of the wonderful clear air that also comes with this cold. So the thing about living in the light and the urge to serve, the whole idea is about being this presence that you were born to be, being the greatness that you are. And there's nothing much to it except to be your authentic self, except to be that thing within you that wants to express as you and is the real you. Last week, I told a solstice story, and the whole point of the story was the young girl that wasn't very comely, really had great beauty within her because she had the love to serve. She loved to serve. And because she served with every obstacle that came in her path, she greeted it with a disposition that was sweet and welcoming, and her reward was jewels and gold and silver. Well, that's the science of mind. That is the science of mind. Ernest Holmes says that it, the God of love cannot hear the prayer of the one who fails to love. In other words, we first of all have to love ourselves and others. We have to then set our intention for what it is we do want. And we can't set an intention as if this thing was separate from us. We have to set an intention embodying it. It's already present within us. That's why the urge to serve is natural, because the love is already in you. And for you to let it out by being of service is just a natural, normal way to be. There's a beautiful story that I think I first read it in one of the Chicken Soup for the Souls books, so it's quite an older story. But it was a story about a woman it was a rainy night, and a woman was stuck on the road. She had a flat tire, and she obviously did not know how to change this flat tire. Maybe a little elderly, maybe a little frail looking woman, and in her wonderful Mercedes car, and someone came to help her. And she was afraid because this person approaching her, she thought looked poor and looked hungry and maybe dangerous. But he was just there to help her. So he offered to change the tire. And he said, "Ma'am, just stay in your car. I'll do this. I can do it easily." He took off the flat tire, he put on the spare, he tightened the lug nuts, and she offered to pay him. And she would have paid him whatever he had asked. That's always a clue in these things. He would have paid her whatever she had asked. But he, knowing the joy of service, said, "No, I couldn't possibly take anything. It's just what I do. I give of myself. What you can do is pass on the good to someone else. And she held that in her heart. And as she was driving in the rain, she saw one of those diners with probably a trucker diner. And it looked like there hadn't been very much traffic there that day. But she stopped in anyway, and she had a cup of coffee and a sandwich. And she noticed that the waitress was at least 8 months pregnant and had the best disposition. She was in service, even though this was her job, she was in service with great joy. And so when she left, when the woman was ready to pay her bill, she put down $100. And the waitress went to get change and she slipped out. And underneath the napkin were four more $100 bills. So she'd left $500 for this woman. She was giving back. Well, the end of the story is the woman came home. Her husband had lost his job. They were needing money. But lo and behold, it was the same man who had changed this woman's tire, whose wife had been given the $500. And she said to him, "My darling, of course everything will be all right." Now, it's loaded. The stories are always loaded with so many clues for us. First of all, when we come to anything, having to make something happen, when we come to anything filled with fear of the future or um, insistence that it happen some way, what we're really doing is telling the universe, this isn't mine. I don't believe it. We're actually saying, stay away, stay away, stay away. So the first thing we need to do after we have realized our magnificence is to relax, to allow, to accept that greater good than this is ours. That's what Jesus taught, that we are made in the image and likeness of the Creator itself. And so everything is ours. As long as we accept it first in consciousness, first of all, embody it. Tell yourself, yes, it's for me. That good is for me. Do you believe it? There's a couple of things I'm wanting us to do together as we move to complete 2014 and go into 2015. And, I know there's always a tendency to go into a new year and set goals and make resolutions. And I say, absolutely, do some inner work. See where you want to grow that next year. But in order to do that, you have to, first of all, let go of the past. You have to accept what is. What is might not be where you want it to be, but accept it. That's the first clue. Accept what is. And then make welcome the new. Set your objectives, but from a place of well-being and wholeness, from a place of oneness with Source. I was reading a little story this morning of a man whose heart was longing for beauty and to see creativity. And so he went to quite a famous area, maybe Laguna Beach, a famous area where there were a lot of artists. And he walked in the bazaar and it was noisy and people had their paintings and their work, and he looked and he didn't see anything that inspired him. And he was disappointed, but he kept walking, walked out of the noise, and he noticed around a little corner there was a sculptress working. She had just a tiny little hammer. And she looked at this big block of marble. And he watched and she just tapped it. And he thought, oh, the poor woman, nothing's going to happen with that. She just tapped this marble. And lo and behold, it broke perfectly into the neck of a swan. This chunk of marble. He was amazed. He thought, this woman must be brilliant, that she knew exactly where to hit. And he stopped her and said, "You're amazing. I want to learn from you. You your work is so great, and you just hit it with one little, like a scratch." And she smiled and she said, "Oh, you must have just come up a couple of minutes ago." She says, "I've been working on this for weeks. I've been working on this for weeks, and for weeks I've been noticing what where where the marble was. For weeks I've been planning in my mind what it would look like. You just saw the completion of the process. What all good work, what all good artwork takes is attention and persistence." I perked up. Attention and persistence, that's what our work takes, right? It takes attention, first of all, to see what it is that you want, that you desire, and then persistence to persist in doing that mental work until you actually see on the outside what you've so carefully and fully chosen as being the truth of you on the inner. Attention and persistence. So, as we're completing this year, the more joy you have, the more joy you have, the more it's just natural and normal to give back to others. Those of you who get here early, you notice that there are some people that are just hugging. They're just the huggers. So they're off hugging. They're stopping like a little butterfly from flower to flower, hugging people, saying good morning, making the world a better place with their sweetness. That too can be you, hugging and welcoming. I don't think anyone's ever born with that life. Someone might have a very sunny disposition at birth. And if that's nurtured, that will be the way the person is. But it takes persistence, intention, and attention in order to do it, be it now. So what I'm knowing is that the people that I see flitting around here, being these wonderful butterflies of love, have attention and persistence and love. And that urge to serve is alive and well in them, alive and well in all of us. So, what stops you? What stops you from being of service in that way? Is it your story? Is it your history? Is it your habits? Is it what other people think of you? None of those are good enough reasons not to serve. None of those are good enough reasons not to let the light out. I think we each have a responsibility to let that light shine. In our journal that we've been doing, there's some great quotes about service. Oops, pardon me. I want to share a couple of them with you. So I think the first one is by Tagore. And here it is. Tagore says, "I slept and dreamed that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service is joy." It's true, right? It's true. And I quoted this partly last week as Albert Schweitzer's quote, "I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I know, the only ones among you who will be truly happy are those of you who have sought and found how to serve." And then this one, which brings it to the completion point, is what you need to know about your past is that no matter what has happened, it has all worked together to bring you to this very moment. And this is the moment you can choose to make everything new right now. This is the moment you can choose to make everything new right now. this year we're going back to the basics in January, and we're doing our 365 days of richer living. We did it, I think, 8 years ago, so it's been a little while. It's written by Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker, and there's no room to write. They're just readings, daily readings, and they're fabulous. We have some in the bookstore, so by all means, pick one up if you haven't. It's a wonderful journal. We're starting off with back to the basics. So starting off with the science of mind, and then every month I've picked an author that we will be exploring. So the first month is Ernest, the second month is Don Miguel Ruiz, and the third month is Deepak Chopra. So there's some really good authors that will be looking about exploring. And then just one last thing. Thank you. I know that some of you have written in to us about ideas, projects for our community effort, and that's great. The Board of Trustees will be looking at and examining those projects and deciding to pick one or two. So if you haven't put yours in yet, or you think, oh, someone else already did it, by all means, please leave us a note about that, because we'd like to hear the ideas. And if you consider yourself a member of this center and haven't done it already, once more, I'm asking you, please make a pledge. The pledges are very important. We're going to be doing our budgeting for next year on a week from Monday. So without the pledges, we don't know what to budget on. And appreciate all of those that have already made your pledge. So over the last few days, I've had a Christmas probably like most of you. Way too much really good food, way too much really good sweets, and connection with people. Kim and Dave picked me up and took me to the harbor so we could see the lights there, which was just exquisite. We bumped into the Fenitzes, and so here they are today. It's so great. And then Christmas Day, I went to the movies with Grant and Rita and friends of theirs. And we saw Into the Woods, and if you haven't seen it, I'm saying go and see it. It was so good, I could have stayed. It's a 2-hour movie. I could have easily just sat through another 2 hours. It was so magnificent. And it's one of those movies that combines fairy tales with ancient wisdom. There are nuggets of gold. And the finale, the witch is singing, and the baker is singing, and the whole cast is singing. I want to share with you some of these nuggets, which Diana's sung some of these, and that I just love this play. I love the story. But the witch is saying at the very end, she says, careful the things you say, children will listen. Careful the things you do, children will see and learn. Guide them along the way, children will glisten. Children will look to you for which way to turn. To learn what to be, careful before you say, listen to me. Children will listen. Wishes are children. Careful the path they take. Wishes come true, not free. Careful the spell you cast, not just on children. Sometimes the spell may last past what you can see and turn against you. Careful the tale you tell. That is the spell. Children will listen. Careful the tale you tell. What great lyrics. Careful the tale you tell. Careful the tale you tell. If you make no other intention for 2015, tell a new story about yourself. Tell a story that's wonderful and magnificent, filled with possibilities, that is vitally alive and prosperous, healthy in every single way. Listen to that urge within you. And if it's the urge to serve, I know that you have many places in which to do that. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. And we're going to pray. So this is what I know, and I know it with every fiber of my being. There's only God and nothing else. And that one that is creator is the creative process. It's the divine idea, and it is the product. It is the creation. It is everywhere present. Therefore, I know it is right where I am. It is in me, through me, around me, and as me. I speak this word in the first person for everyone here, and this is what I know. With care and with love, I speak this word of truth that I am, that I am, that is love. I am that is creativity. I am that is abundance. I am that is connection. And I speak this word that every way, in, in every way, my life is better and better. I know that I am important in every aspect of my life, and that life gives me clues. I listen to the clues. I learn from the lessons that I've set for myself. And with great intention, I tell a new story. I tell a story about myself that is true and compelling and filled with joy, abundance, and grace. I tell a new story that is filled with connection and laughter and fun. I tell a new story that's filled with adventure and excitement that is based on truth. I tell a story that blesses everyone around me, for there is no individual good, just individualized. And so I individualize the good and I share it with others. I am so very grateful for this awareness, for this knowing, for this present moment. And with great attention and great persistence, I continue to learn, to serve, and to grow. With my heart filled with gratitude, I simply release this word to the action of law. It is complete. And please help me to anchor it by saying with me, and so it is. And now, once more to the platform, I welcome Debbie Wheeler.